Welcome to C-Fan Sports, the sports show that is dedicated to the Seattle sports fan. This is Dave and Kevin, and man, have we got a lot to talk about. Before we get into that, what we do want you to do is, dry those eyes, Kevin. What we do want you guys to do is make sure that you subscribe if you're new here. Subscribe if you've not subscribed, you've been here before. Turn on those notification bells so you know when we put new content out, because we put out 2 to 3 shows a week. Also, make sure that you give us thumbs up, give us thumbs down, and make sure you leave comments in the comment sections, even if it's stuff that I don't agree with from knucklehead people out there. Anyway, that's as much as I'm going to say on that. So, Kevin, getting into the meat and potatoes of this Seahawks loss. I'm going to wipe everything away, and I'm going to boil this down for us because we're simple laymen and not very smart people. But yesterday, if you look at the stat line alone, Russell Wilson, 22 of 31, 343 yards, 2 TDs with a QBR rating of 134.8. You read that, and you read that we scored 30 points. Without knowing the score of the game, I would have thought there'd be very little chance that the Tennessee Titans would beat us at home. Kevin, did you have any, if I had given you those stats, would you be the same as me and think we had this in the bag?
Yes, I'm 100% with you. All the stats were there. We should have won this game. It's painful.
Missing a field goal, or an extra point. But here's the thing that isn't, again, emphasized is we had 18 rushes, Kevin.
I know.
18 rushes and right about 77 rushing yards. Now, Kevin, on top of that, we're going to take 3 of those rushes away right away because Russell Wilson rushed for 3 and got 16 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, our elite running back, which is Chris Carson, who I think, don't get me wrong, when I say elite, I'm not mocking him. We did not depend on Chris to do anything yesterday.
No.
We did. Alex Collins had a 25-yard run. Did we go back and try to run Alex Collins again? No. You were up by 2 scores, 14 points going into the 4th quarter, and you were 3 and outed 3 times in that time period. You didn't rush the ball. You didn't go for the intermediate to check downs. Kevin, I did stop by the police station today, and I did file missing persons report on Will Dissly and Gerald Everett, because those 2 guys who were promised to us were going to be integral parts of this offense were missing, not there. So if we're not rushing out of that two tight end set, and if we're not passing out of the 2 tight end set, then what the HE double hockey sticks are we doing?
I wish I knew, Dave. Here's the problem: that 31 pass attempts to 18 rushes, and like you said, 3 of them were Russell Wilson. And why? I thought we were trying to get a balanced offense. Last year at the beginning of the season, we were all talking about let Russ cook, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. I was never for letting Russ cook. I like the guy. The guy's got a great arm, but we got to win balanced football games. Here's a perfect example. We let Russ cook this game, 31 passes. And what happened? We lost. Without a balanced offense, you got nothing. And you know what? I love Russ. I don't want to hear anybody say, we got to leave it in Russ's hands. It's all about Russ. It's all about Russ. It is all about a team effort. And if you're not going to do the team effort, and I'm talking to coaches right now, including Russell Wilson, who shook off his coach, I'm telling you right now that you need to run a balanced offense, or we're gonna be like CBS says, and we're gonna be in the cellar of our league, in our division.
Absolutely, Kevin. And not only that, Kevin, if we don't clean up this penalty problem, and
Oh,
there's going to be a lot of people that they're going to point, well, yeah, that taunting rule is horrible. And I
yeah.
agree. The taunting rule is horrible. But you know what, Kevin? Take that taunting rule out. We still take that one play all the way off. We still had 9 penalties for 85 yards.
Yeah. We had 2 roughing the passer penalties for 15 yards.
Absolutely.
We had 1 hit out of bounds. Jordan Brooks. We had a taunting call, obviously, we talked about. I mean, we had an unsportsmanlike conduct. We had 5 of those 10 penalties were for 15 yards.
You are not going to win in the National Football League that way. Sorry.
And then my other question with the penalties, what the heck is going on with DK Metcalf? Is he in his own head? Is he reading the clippings? I don't know what he's doing. I think he thinks he's a diva, but he's just got to shut up and play a game and play to win.
I could not agree with you more, Kevin. I was very frustrated. We haven't even got to the defensive side of the ball. We're still attacking the offense. I mean, the defense, to me, Kevin, there was a play that they highlighted where Julio Jones lined up in the slot. Okay. Now this is a breakdown for all of you guys that think I can't break anything down. So this is an actual breakdown. He was in the slot. Who was playing off of him, and I'm pretty sure it was Marquise Blair. I'm not 100%, but pretty sure. He made it 8 yards and an in and caught the ball before we even had any contact on. This is Julio Jones, people.
Yeah, exactly.
Cooper Kupp and it's going to eat us alive if we come into give him that kind of a cushion. Any quality receiver in this league going up against Tampa Bay and the Godwins and the Evans, they're going to eat. We are not a contender if we can't, even if we press and they get over the top. That's why we have this tandem of defensive safeties that is supposed to be so good. But they're more worried about getting in and getting sacks than they are stopping these guys at the line of scrimmage and making them earn that 5 yards, making them get out of that chuck zone so that they're not getting off the ball clean. I was very frustrated. And you know what, Kevin? Like I heard this week, that's the coach that is calling them to make them be off that far.
Yeah.
So you either don't have faith in Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams to be able to cover over the top in case these receivers beat the defensive back at the line of scrimmage, or I don't know. Kevin, I'm just flabbergasted, and we haven't even got to the rushing yards yet.
No. Well, and speaking of the rushing yards, I'm trying to figure out. You said something to me earlier today that made me do a lot of thinking, and realistically, that was KJ Wright last year. The guy always was solid on the end. He kept things from coming around the end.
Yep.
There was several plays that came around on the right side of the defense that just none of our guys stayed home. I watched one play, LJ Collier got totally sucked in, and I don't even know what he was doing, but they just ran right around him, and it was open field. The second time, Jamal Adams, he got this game frustrated me so bad.
That KJ did is he would set that edge.
Yep.
Okay. And to where he set it up to where they would have to get around KJ, and then usually other hats would fly to the ball. And right now, Kevin, and if you go back and you watch some of our previews of this season, we talked about, I don't think KJ is going to be as the difference maker as we think he is and everything like that. I'm telling you right now, the bill is due. We are paying right now for no KJ Wright in the system. And we are paying a heavy penalty. Well, I think that no KJ Wright in this system is just, man, I tell you, and Bobby had to make 20 tackles just to come up with it. We have got to find an answer, whether that's scheme-wise whether that's having, Daryl Taylor take on those blocks and set that in. I don't know. I can't, unfortunately, I'm not I don't know the defense that well, but I do know that what KJ did on that defensive line and that line and setting that edge so that more players can get to the ball is so important and so valuable in this system.
Yeah, and let's say, I mean, everybody's talking about Daryl Taylor this, Daryl Taylor that. I mean, he didn't impress me for the first 2 games of the preseason. The third game, and even the first game in the season, he played okay. But, boy, he was MIA this game. I mean,
there's a lot of defensive players that were MIA.
Yeah, Carlos
a
Dunlap.
lot.
I don't understand any of this stuff. I mean, where was Rasheem Green this game?
Yep. No Rasheem Green, no Daryl Taylor, no Carlos Dunlap.
No.
Absolutely. Even Jordan Brooks, as good as he's been, I don't think he had a very good game either.
No, he did not. Nope.
Marquise Blair has been absolutely absent. And other than Ugo Amadi's dancing that he does in the going from the receiver to the end of the line, to the receiver to the end of the line, I don't know how more upset I could be about that. You're either rushing and you don't show it so they don't know you're coming, or right. You cover that slot receiver. I don't understand what he was doing, Kevin. This game was brutal. Not this game. The second half. Was brutal.
It was a tell of 2 games in this one game. First half, I thought we played well, except for the penalties. And the second half was just brutal. And, we got out, I won't say it again, we got out coached all the way around. And players are either thinking they're better than they are because they're reading their press clippings. I don't know, but they need to start playing for what they're worth. These guys are getting paid millions to go out and play a game, and they're not playing to what they're supposed to be playing. Last
Kevin,
week, we had an extremely balanced game. This week,
yeah,
they threw it in the toilet.
Yep. All right, Kevin. So here we are, heading to Minnesota. Minnesota barely lost to the Arizona Cardinals.
Yep.
I think this is going to be a test and a half for the Seattle Seahawks coming up this week. We'll have that video coming out later this week, probably Friday. Our preview of this matchup coming along. I'm going to actually sit down and watch the Arizona-Minnesota game and trying to get some notes for that. Kevin, is there anything else that you have that you want to talk about as far as the 33-30 loss?
There were a couple bright spots, and you got to give hat to players that stepped up and played a great game.
Okay.
Start off with your player on defense, player to click, or X factor of the game, Kerry Hyder Jr. He showed up. He had an overall grade of 85 this week. He had 3 total tackles, 2 solos. He had two or three pass pressures. He had the fumble recovery. He had a great game. Al Woods showed up to play.
The farmer. Well, that's a big boy.
That is a big boy. He had 6.
We're going to start calling him the Combine.
He had 6 total tackles, 4 solos, 1 sack, but he was disruptive.
Yeah.
And then on the offense, Tyler Lockett. I mean, how do you say any more? He had 8 receptions for 178 yards and 1 TD.
Question, Kevin.
Yes.
Where would the Seattle Seahawks be without Tyler Lockett?
It would have been such a horrible game without Tyler Lockett.
Love me some Tyler Lockett.
I mean, Freddie Swain had a good game, I thought, for a little bit. Chris Carson could have had a good game if they would let him continue to run. Mm-hmm. Alex Collins could have had a good game. I mean, there's so many things. When you're up by 14, like you said, and this is probably the worst thing that bugged me all, the last 2 days. You're up by 14 points and you can't run the ball. you don't belong in this league.
No.
I don't,
Nope.
whether you're Chris Carson, whether you're, I mean, even the team needs to run the clock and they
Mhm.
need to push first downs. You know, you and I've been friends for 20 some years. And one of the things we used to always talk about is you got to run in the first quarter, even if you're not going to get tons of yards, but you got to break down that defense in the second half. You got to wear them out. You have to hit them in the mouth. And that's what Chris Carson does. But if you only rush them, I don't know, 12
13 times.
13
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
You're
13
not,
attempts.
it's just absolutely frustrating game. But, you know, there was a couple good highlights. And other than that, I'm so irritated I don't even want to talk about Seahawks anymore this week.
Well, here's the deal, Kevin. We got to have a short memory. We're going to be lacing them up again Sunday.
Yep.
And we're going to be going after the Minnesota Vikings. So, you know, I still love my team. I'm still excited to see what happens Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, Kevin, to conclude all this, I guess we only have 2 words that we got to say.
Go Hawks.